Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Destruction Battletome Orruk Warclans. Probably not for the first time for most of you, as this was kindly sent to me as a complimentary review copy by Games Workshop, but fell off a truck at some point in December, and that guy with the beard basically did my job for me, which is great because he left out my favorite part, which is Spearhead. So if you were coming here for a full in-depth review of the Orruk Warclans Battletome, you're not getting one because this has been up, I don't know, somebody else did it better than me like months ago. He did my work for me, so thanks, I guess, for that. I don't have to do any of that part. What this is, though, is a full color update to the Orruk Warclans. Of course, this includes both the Cruel Boys, the Ironjawz, and well, I guess that's it now. I was going to say, it used to also include the Bone Splitters, who simply do not exist anymore. They've been cut from the range, gone, full range reduction, a third of the army cut out. And I mean, that happened already at the beginning of AOS 4, so like, I don't think that's really news to anybody, but if you were expecting them to reappear in here, I'm afraid they didn't. Gorka and Morka have been doing their thing, cunningly brutal and brutally cunning. I do think that it's kind of cool that the range reflects that now, right? Where you've got the Ironjawz as the cunningly brutal side, and then you've got the Cruel Boys as the brutally cunning side. So you got kind of like the big, huge, loud, proud crowd, and then you've got the more slinking, swampy, stabby boys. It does give them kind of a unique identity, and as I do love the old Brian Nelson orc design, for those of you who haven't been in workshop hobby for a while, Brian Nelson basically redesigned the orcs that Kev Walker had designed originally. Kev Walker, the orcs all kind of look like the goblins. They had this big wide grin. It was based on some older John Blanche art. They had a very unique design. His goblins and orcs are, they are beautiful, you know, 4th and 5th edition Warhammer sculpts. Brian Nelson in 6th edition redesigned the orcs to these sort of like huge shouldered gorillas that then became kind of the standard for how a Games Workshop orc looked. And it's funny because the Kev Walker ones are not either of these. These go back even older to the C-Series orcs when they were called Goblinoids, and the Cruel Boys are kind of a reflection of that. So we got their different paths. We got a big, again, these books are nice and high quality, big full color books with like tons of art and a background section and a big fold out and stuff too. So if you're interested in that, it kind of expands a little bit, but mostly it's just a rehash of the AOS 3 stuff with the Cruel Boys and what they've been doing. Push the timeline forward a little bit with the stuff with Kragnos. The most inexplicable, this was supposed to be a Beastman character, but then we just bigified him and made him a giant centerpiece miniature. Baffling god thing. I don't know. The Kragnos thing, I know too much about how miniatures are designed that the Kragnos thing never really sat right with me, and I'm glad that he's been kind of minimalized in the lore for the last little while. And yeah, and I guess our only bone splitter sort of harken back to now is this little fella right here, the old aircraft controller guy landing a Tomcat on a battleship. We do have some new kits, which they were nice enough to send along too. We got some endless spells. So the manifestations are basically like the big stomps. You get the Foot of Gork, both past and future. You've got what are they all called again? Are the names on here? I can't remember the individual names of them. No, they weren't that helpful. They are called, at the end of this thing, come on now, Ash. The Gork Rora and the Mork Spit Marsh. So this obviously Foot of Gork and Mork are, they're classic orc spells, but the Gork Aurora and the Mork Spit Marsh are kind of reflections of the Cruel Boys and the Ironjawz. Separately, and then we got our Scaregob Totem. It's finally a faction terrain piece, which is cool. This is a big tower. It's kind of like the throne, the Charnel throne. You can have a guy stand on it, and he gets souped up and gets to stare at people and yell at them and all that good stuff. So those new kits are nice, adding a little bit to the sort of like the essentials of every army. You know what I mean? That they didn't have before. And then rolling in all the new kits that were at the end of AOS 3. So we've got these guys, the Ironjawz Big Pig Riders, to go along with the Mob Root and stuff. The new Berserker characters, the Brute Ragers and Weird Brute Rekkas. And then this guy right here, Zogrok Anvil Smasher, who was the character that came out towards the end. Gobsprak, the Mythogork, is still one of the nicest character miniatures I think they've made. I would put this up here with the Big Cities of Sigmar Griffin Rider Lady. These are just incredible fantasy sculpts, dripping with like character. And people will, you know, claim that only the rules for them matter. If this guy doesn't get entered in a couple Golden Demons in Europe, I would be super surprised because he's so characterful and has all kinds of just cool, weird shit hanging off him. So all that rolled in here too. And then we got this new guy, the Hobgrap Slitaboss. He's like the last of the new characters. He's he looks like he'd be in like the old Conan movies. You know what I mean? He's got that weird 80s, you know, like he could be a jugger in Blood of Heroes. So we're just gonna skip all this stuff because this, like, I'll be honest, it's orcs and they already have spoiled all this stuff online. If you're an Orruk Warclans player and you're looking for me to review this, then you haven't been on the internet for the last few weeks, and I can't help you because there's not a lot of point to me being here. But I am gonna talk about two other things: the Path to Glory part, because also today I get to review the new Path to Glory book, which I am super excited about, and this stuff is all compatible with that. So when you make your character to play a Path to Glory campaign with, you get to, and it escalates every game, you get to use these rules if you're playing Ironjawz. So you can have an Ironjawz hero, he's either a chopper or a haka, this is the base stat line, and then you start picking your war clans. Either Iron Sons, Blood Tooths, or the Choppas, and then if you're a Cruel Boys unit, Grin Blades, Big Yellers, or Skull Bugs. And your starting youth DP limit is 10, so this would cost you like 4 to give him that name. You get to gear him out. It's your origin and your flaw. If you're extremely loud, enemy heroes can't use commands while they're in combat with this unit. A monster killer for fighting monsters. Basically roll a die and when nothing happens. 2 to 5, inflict D6 mortal damage. And then on a 6, inflict 2d6 mortal damage. You have like a super like stab that you can do to some kind of giant monster. And a knack for killing, -2 DP. Ward rolls cannot be made for damage inflicted by your combat unit's attacks. And then you get your flaws, things like being a clumsy rider, so if you want to gain back, you can balance these out basically. Passive, pig-headed, you can't retreat. So like you could get knack for killing, but then not be able to retreat. Far too eager in your combat phase, in your charge phase. If this unit's not within combat and within 12, you have to make a charge. Just stuff like that. Like it gives you personality to your character, which I think is really, really cool. You can have a mount, so like a Magrenta, Maw Crusher, Sludge Raker Beast, but obviously these wouldn't be available to starting heroes because they're way too cheap. Or expensive, sorry, too many DP. And then your mount can get upgrades, and then other upgrades like adding your move, your health, your ward, etc. And then as you advance, you get your 4 different ranks: Aspiring, Elite, Mighty, and Legendary. You get to basically go down one of these two paths, so either the Path of the Brutal or the Path of the Smasher, which is Ironjawz and or Ironjawz, so non-heroes. Ironjawz heroes and then non-hero Ironjawz units, so these are the regular dudes who aren't heroes. Eaten as greens, add to your health. Or Tireless Warmaker, add 1 to your charge. Shielded Conviction, for less than turn, subtract 1 from hit rolls for range attacks. Or Scale Splitter, you get anti-monster +1 rend. Unstoppable, reroll saves of 1, 2, or 3 for this unit. That's insane. And then Proper Boss, I would always set like a boss. Declare pick up to 3 friendly units wholly within 12 of this unit to be the targets. And in fact, add 1 of the attack characteristics of the target's melee opens for the rest of the turn. And then Legendary, Godly Bellow. On a 4+, make somebody strike last. You basically get the giant earth-shaking stomp that the treemen have. And then Meteor of Green Destruction, get strike first instead. I think I'd always take strike first over making someone else strike last. Does it just feel better? I guess making someone else strike last would allow other units besides yourself to strike first too, so that's kind of better, but it requires a dice roll as opposed to just going first. And then Path of the Smasher, for your non-heroes, things like being on home turf. Well, it's wholly within friendly territory, add 1 to hit rolls. I don't think so is one of your elite choices. On a roll a die on a 2+, add 3 to the unit's control score. That didn't hurt. Ward save of 5+, or Juggernauts, subtract 1 from the rend of units that target this. And then we got Cruel Boys for both the same things. We got Path of the Most Cunning and Path of the Sneak. So things like highly acquisitive, he's just steely. Effect, while this unit's contesting objectives, add 1 to hit rolls for this unit's attacks. One of the elite ones is rerolling casting rolls, so like you could make a mage. You just try it once per turn per army, any charge phase. Declare, pick a friendly unit wholly within 12 of this unit to be the target, and the effect for the rest of the turn: each time an enemy unit makes a charge move and it ends within 1 inch of the target, inflict D3 mortal damage on them. And then a disconcerting stare. Roll D3 each time the unit's picked as a target for a fight ability. If the roll exceeds the attacking unit's control characteristic, the attacking unit cannot use commands for the rest of the turn because you're too weird at looking at people. You give them the evil eye, give them the Willem Dafoe look. Path of the Sneak. So this is the non-hero units, like your basic upgrades for like your guys. Boo ha ha ha. Subtract 2 from the control scores of any units while they're in combat with this unit because you're yelling boo at people. Hit the dirt, -1 rend from shooting weapons. We'll look after this. While each model in this unit's contesting an objective, you control add one of their saves. Or practically Gorkish. In fact, if this unit charges this turn, for the rest of the turn, add one of the charge rolls for friendly non-hero infantry while they're wholly within 18 of this unit. So lots of cool upgrades, very thematic for the two sides. And then you do have an Army of Renown, which is the big WA. So basically, you can use Ironjawz, Cruel Boys, can't use Regiments of Renown, and you can't include the faction terrain. And it lets you mix the two sides. I'm pretty sure Big WA was gone over by the leakers, though. So yeah, I'm not going to bother. Same with Zogrok's Ironmongers. This is the all Ironjawz one. We have to use Zogrok, the special character, the little foot guy. And then the Merc Vast Menagerie with Scumdrek. And he must be included in your general. The Hurtland Hogs are your Regiment Renown and the Counting Crew. And you can use these in Sons of Behemat, Gloomspike Gits, Cruel Boys, Bone Splitters, or Orgrimmar Tribes. And then the Counting Crew can be used in Sons of Behemat, Gits, Jaws, and Bone Splitters. I'm surprised Bone Splitters are in here because I didn't think they existed anymore, or at least they're not in this book. Yeah, weird to see the Bone Splitters on both of these, the Hurtland Hogs and the Counting Crew, because I don't know, maybe they'll bring them back with their own book someday. I thought they were just dead. I thought they were just gone. I don't know. And then our rules reference in the back. So let's talk about the important thing here, which is the Spearhead, page 104. Pass the spells. The Ironjawz Big Mob. Now, I've got Mike painting this up right now because I had all these minis and I gave them to him so that we could actually play with this. And I'm excited about this because he already had an Ironjawz army, but he didn't have these new units, so I gave them to him to paint up. And he's going to come in later on in the month, and we'll do an actual spear tips on this Spearhead. But I wanted to talk about it now because, I'll be honest, Spearhead's my favorite way of playing AOS right now. It might be the most, this is a controversial thing to say, it might be the most balanced way of playing AOS right now too. At least if you do like a 2 out of 3 methodology for playing. And yeah, I really like it. So this is the part I'm gonna talk about and focus on. So Ironjawz Big Mob, what do you get? You get a Mega Boss, 3 Brute Ragers, 5 Ardboys, 5 Ardbites for a box of 10 split in half, and then 5 Brutes. So the old boss, the old Brute box, and then the 2 new boxes from last year. Battle traits. Your Brutes are not set up during the deployment phase. You're short a unit at the start. And that includes the Ragers, so it's just the Ardboys and the Mega Boss. Instead, from the 3rd battle round onwards, they can use the following maneuver. Here we go. Set this unit up anywhere in the battlefield more than 6 from the enemy. So they just teleport on the field wherever you want them on turn 3. So halfway through the game. And then once per turn, army in any hero phase. Mighty Destroyers. Declare a friendly unit that's not set up to be the target. Effect the target can move to 3 inches. It can move into combat. If it was in combat at the start of the move, it must end that move in combat. So basically, if you weren't quite in combat at the start of your turn, you can just move in. You can stay in combat or get more onto an objective if you want, but it can't be one of your units that arrives on turn 3. It has to be a unit that's not in combat, that's already on the table and wasn't set up this turn. All right, so our picks. So this is going to be our regimental abilities. So after we pick Attacker Defender. Natural Disaster. Effect, if you make an unmodified charge of 8+ for a friendly unit, add one of the attack characteristic of that unit's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. And then the other one's once per battle, though. So inherently, I'm less interested in those because they need to be really good to be worth it. Affect all friendly units in the battlefield that were not set up this turn are the targets of that ability instead. So once per battle reaction, you declare the Mighty Destroyers ability. So once per battle, the units that you basically you use Mighty Destroyers on turn 3 when your Brutes all arrive, and you get to move them 3 inches to make sure that they're not in combat because they have to be set up outside of 6, but you can move them 3 inches afterwards to get them to like automatic charge range if you want. I'll be honest, 6 inches is kind of automatic charge range already. It feels like you roll 6 on 2 dice. Yeah. And then we've got our enhancements, Amberbone Whetstone. The rank characteristic of General's weapons is 2, which is super nice for those high save armies. Trophy of Skulls, your General's control goes to 5, which is handy because there's not a lot of high control here. Armor of Gork, your General gets a 6+ board. Or Mega Bossy. If this unit charged this turn, for the rest of the turn, add 1 of the charge rolls for friendly units while they're wholly within 12. Mega Bossy can be really handy the turn you bring in your brutes, right? Because then you're getting to like a 5+ charge for everybody getting in. And let's talk about those units. You're going to start with the Mega Boss and 2 units of these Ard Boys. Now, everybody's multi-wound, like there's kind of like Stormcast. Mega Boss has got 8 health. This army is a very close analog without having the Cav, like having the brutes instead. To the Ogre Maw tribes, right? Where the ogres basically also arrive with their big sort of like cavalry unit, their big cannon halfway through the game. It's important though that you arrive so close because you only have a 4-inch move afterwards. So without getting charge moves off, you're not moving a ton during the actual movement phase. This guy though, he's pretty close to as fighty as the Tyrant. 8 attacks, 4+2+, rend 1, 2 damage. Just a massive amount of hitting. He hates hit mods though, but he does throw a ton of dice. That's why, honestly, I think from the choices here, like the natural disaster probably feels better just to up his damage capacity, make him roll more dice. So even if he is suffering like it's a hit mod, he's hitting with at least a third of his attacks probably. And then for the enhancements, the rend characteristic is probably the one I would take. His control only being 2, making it 5 might be worth doing as well. I'd rank those pretty high. And then in your hero phase, you can do Stuck In Lads, declare, pick a friendly brute unit wholly within 12 of this unit to be the target, and they're all die on a 2+, add 1 of the attack characteristic of their melee weapons until the start of your next turn. So you can really juice up these units. The Ard Boys, they're basically same core stat line, but only 1 control and 2 health. And then their choppas are 4s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1, but anti-charge +1 rend. So someone charges them, the big spikes in their shields and stuff do more damage. They get a shield bash, declare, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch to be the target, and then any combat phase effect, make a shield bash of d6 for every model in this unit within 3. For every 6, do a mortal wound. So you just have a mortal wound splash during the combat phase as you like bash them with your shields. What's nice about that, it's only a 6, but it's not based upon health characteristics or anything like that. Which means it works on everybody as opposed to some of these abilities where it's like roll equal to or higher than their health and do a mortal wound, or it's like a more like crunchy rule for making it happen. These will work on anybody, even monsters. Then we got our reinforcements, the Brute Ragers. They've got 3 health each, but only a 5+ save because they're just wearing pants, and 1 control. Rager weapons, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, run 1, damage 2. So basic same stat line as the boss. And then Unleashed Rage, this unit has strike first if they charge in the same turn. It's I kind of like the combo of like rolling an 8+ and then using his ability to give him +1 to charges. And then Brutes, these are the core like 5-man big guys. You get a 3+ save as well. 1 control, 3 health, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. So they don't hit quite as hard, but they do as much damage. And then you messin. In fact, this unit's health characteristic of 1 or 2 cannot contest objectives while they're in combat with this unit. So their control doesn't matter if they're fighting little guys, because if you're fighting them, then and you're small, they just don't care. So Stormcast on down, they're like, no, we just cancel you out and we take this objective. So fighting goblins, fighting Skaven, literally anybody that has 2 or 1 wounds, they're just like, this is ours. And that really does cancel out their control of 1. It does mean that any like big character models though will almost always beat them if they have a control of 5 or more. Just need to kill 1. So let's rank these. What do I think? I do think Natural Disaster, because everybody hits on 4s. Getting that extra attack can push them into getting like the proper damage they need as opposed to proper ruckus. Mighty Destroyers all the time. I don't think I would take it for the other guys. Instead, I would probably take Mega Bossy. So that if my Mega Boss, who I want charging every turn anyway, makes a charge, everybody wholly within 12 of them gets +1 of that charge roll. It'll mean Natural Disasters triggers. Oh no, sorry, it's a mod-modified roll. It wouldn't trigger it more often, but I think Mega Boss is probably the one I would take the most, especially for the Mighty Destroyers and reinforcements to be effective. He doesn't really need Armor of Gork. You can fish for the healing potion to heal him later on. And then Trophy of Skulls, it's handy, but you need to fight Trophy of Skulls and Amberbone Whetstone would be army dependent. Like I'm not taking Amberbone Whetstone against Skaven or Ghosts, right? Like against Night Haunts and stuff like that. I'm not taking Trophy of Skulls against giant massed units because it just doesn't matter. I'll just kill them to get them off the objective. And Armor of Gork, I've got 8 wounds and a 3+ save. I should be able to survive long enough to fish out the healing potion to get healthy if I need to. And he doesn't degrade. So overall, it's all kill or no filler. It's about managing your kill and timing how you have your reinforcements come on the right way. You do need to protect the Mega Boss, I think, and keep him alive to get the most of the reinforcements by having him charge that same turn. And the Ard Boys are just everybody's got 3+ saves except for the Brute Ragers, and they're a sledgehammer of a unit when they actually fight something because they also strike first. So if you like rolling dice and hitting stuff, and having a fairly elite army with some kind of second term setup and then third turn arrival, I think this is a fun one. It's also super easy to paint. So as far as being beginner friendly, we're talking about painting basically Space Marines with green skin, right? They're all in big heavy armor. You could just dry brush these guys, prime and black, dry brush them metallic, and then go through, paint the skin, paint the armor, whatever color you want it to be, and base isn't done. They're a super easy army to paint, and they look badass because they're just giant orcs. So there it is. We did it. Orruk Warclans, hopefully featuring the stuff that you haven't already seen online. Because that was my favorite stuff anyway, so I'm excited about it. So today you can also check out a GMG review of the new Path to Glory book and also the almanac for this year of what came out for Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl, the ultimate actual Games Workshop competitive game. If you want their most balanced competitive game, play Blood Bowl. The tournament sizes will surprise you. Check out how many people play in the big world tournament every year. It's shocking for one tournament. And that's it. So big thanks for Workshops on this longer review, and you guys for watching. Talk to Tom Ash. Have a good night.